So where were we? Oh yeah, I was introducing Craig Compagnone, who's from MMGY Global, which is an integrated marketing and communications agency. You have lots of data and insights into the Travelaer. So before we go into a bit of a detail about these, this data and these insights, I mean, where do you source the data and insights from in the first place?
Sure. So a lot of the data and insights we source ourselves as an organization. So as a fully service integrated marketing communications company, we believe really strongly that research and insights drives great creative and great results. So for 25 years, we've been doing our own proprietary research on the US Travelaer. We do that through a number of different studies, and then of course we have a number of great partners out there in the industry that we also leverage for additional data and insights.
Okay, and these partners are?
So like an Expedia Media Solutions, the UNWTO, we recently published a piece with WTM, and we used some TripAdvisor research as well. But a lot of the research and data we use comes from both DK Shiflet, which is one of our own companies that does Travelaer and data insights on the US, and then MMGY publishes a number of studies like the Portrait of the US Travelaer or Travel Horizons, which has been a mainstay in the US for Travelaer insights and motivation.
Okay, so I think we might have some of these slides if you wanted to maybe just talk through some very sort of specific data points and maybe around sort of international destinations. So where are US travelers traveling to?
Yeah, sure. Well, so US travelers are traveling right now. Some of the top markets still remain Europe, as well as the geographically close Caribbean, Canada, Mexico. But what's really interesting is on a more global scale is what are the top 4 countries that travelers are actually coming from. So as we work
into the US inbound.
So as we look at inbound markets, China remains the top market by volume and visitor spend, and we see that from UNWTO. One of the challenges with China, though, and reaching China is, according to Expedia, only about 27% of that audience actually travels outside their borders. So it can become a difficult audience to target, but there's some ways through data and technology and personalization that's getting easier. The US is the second largest, and while we've seen some dips in US travel internationally, and I think we actually have a slide on that as well that we can show.
The tourism spend slide, yep.
Yeah, it shows that for the last 5 years, the percentage of total US travelers traveling internationally has been on a short decline. But what we know is that the overall volume of spend and travel by the US traveler is still quite large and still makes it a top market really globally to attract. And then when we're talking about the US and where we're trying to attract inbound for the US, UK and Germany really still remain top markets. They're in that top 4. Both have shown increased interest in the next coming year to travel internationally, and both have a very high percentage of their traveling population that are willing to go outside the borders. I think almost 75% in Germany.
Okay, that's interesting. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was I had a look at the MMGY website before I joined. I do my research as much as possible, and it was a really interesting campaign that you did with cheapcaribbean.com. And one of the things that I found particularly interesting was the way in which the Google algorithms in terms of videos require that for the videos to be tracked, the YouTube video has to be watched in full.
Yeah.
And that to me is a creative challenge. So I'm just wondering, in terms of the sort of the digital marketing ecosystem, is Google's demands making you have to be more creative in the production of the videos?
I think there's 2 things there. Yes, on creative and production of videos, it's changed the way really marketers look at creating content, creating videos. We really look at, when we're doing videos now, at multi-use videos because of that reason, because you're looking at different forums and different channels digitally and how you can use that video. It has to be shot in a way that you can manage it differently to maximize and optimize those efforts. But I think the other change that's happening is Google's play in the travel and tourism industry has been so strong that it's forcing technology change outside of Google for marketers. So one of the really interesting things that we see right now is an advance in segmentation and personalization. So there are a number of providers out there that are providing personalization platforms, not just on your website, but in the creative that you're distributing out as well via paid media. And so by using data to drive really tight segments and really tight personas, we actually can move from programmatic advertising, digital advertising, which was a really advanced trend just in the last couple of years, now to addressable media. So we can actually reach users and travelers on a one-to-one individual basis. So we know we're hitting the exact person that we want to hit and targeting them when we're doing marketing efforts.
Okay, so you mentioned Google's role within the travel and tourism marketing ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So where does that leave, the so-called traditional media, TV, radio, outboard, print? I mean, how do they cope in this sort of googly, algorithmically led ecosystem?
Well, they're reinventing themselves. So traditional media is still by far a very important medium. And they really live at the top of the funnel in most cases and driving inspiration, which is very important in travel and tourism. But we are also seeing publishers reinventing how they publish between print and online, as well as how video and broadcast is shifting. So one of the really interesting developments just this year has been true addressable TV advertising. It's something that the industry's been talking about for years, but it's been kind of slow to pick up. So one of our partners is Adara Media, which is a digital media solutions provider, and they've actually entered in the US a relationship with the largest cable provider in the US, Comcast. And so what we can now do is we can buy digitally in the same way we would always do, at a very targeted basis, but for users who have internet access and cable TV access in their households through Comcast, we can now place individual broadcast placements on an individualized basis programmatically. So that's great for two reasons. One, it makes the TV buy super efficient and targeted, but it also makes tracking that quote-unquote offline media now trackable, so you can really track it back to direct conversion and revenue.
So that's, two people, next to each other watching the same TV program would get different adverts.
Exactly right.
That's quite interesting.
If you are online and you're showing interest in traveling to Bermuda, as an example, and you've gone out there and searched dates and done a little research, well, then we can let you know exactly what's happening in Bermuda in the next 3 months by placing a spot in front of you on a TV set.
That's interesting. So, I introduced you as MMGY Global. One of the things that, we look at tnoooz, we look at travel from a sort of global perspective, and one thing that we've noticed is this sort of consolidation trend where sort of, US companies are buying companies in Indonesia and Chinese companies are buying companies in Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. There's a whole load of sort of consolidation going on. I mean, does that play out in a business sort of like a tech-driven business such as yourself? Is that consolidation playing out in your space as well as ours?
For sure. So one of the things that we started doing a couple of years ago is really looking at how do we start consolidating specialist organizations that are best in class in what they do, because from a marketing perspective, we truly believe in a holistic, integrated approach to planning strategy. And that's still a need for travel and tourism brands. But what we've also noticed is that there's a real desire in the industry to work with individual marketing companies and agencies that specialize in particular fields. So, for instance, I mentioned DK Shiflet as a company. MMGY Global really today operates as a family or a parent company, and DK Shiflet was one of the first acquisitions we made a couple of years ago to start bringing specialists into our global family. So DK Shiflet is our research and North American insights brand. We have a brand that's based in New York and LA that's a true public relations and social media brand in NJF. We have another agency called Myriad Marketing, and they focus specifically on international marketing for destinations that are interested in having representation in the US and North America. And then we still carry our MMGY brand as our traditional integrated marketing and advertising brand. Okay. But interestingly enough, just today, we announced that we've added a fifth partner that we're super excited about adding in Hills Balfour.
Okay.
So Hills Balfour has offices in both London and Dubai. They are really well known as a top-notch public relations and marketing communications company. They've been doing a lot of great work with destinations both in Europe and in the US, attracting outbound US travelers. So the synergies between our two companies couldn't be better, and we're super excited to have them on board.
Okay, that's really good news. I mean, we know Hills Balfour really well, but so what you're saying is they're bringing a sort of, a UK, European-based sort of destination type input into the MMGY Global business portfolio.
Exactly. So it's allowed us to have offices now abroad in both London and Dubai. It allows us to tap into their great teams, which are absolute pros in the public relations and marketing communications world. And it also allows us to extend brands. So what Hills Balfour has been doing in London and Dubai over the last couple of years is starting to build their creative services and their creative opportunities. Well, as an organization, we talked about insight and research driving great creative. So we now have the ability to give that team those resources to really expand and leverage that creative even more than what they've been doing in the past. Likewise, it also affords Hills Balfour an opportunity to potentially extend their brand into the US. So they have a number of clients here in the US, great clients like Brand USA, Visit Las Vegas, New York and Company. And so we have a great opportunity now for them to have a presence in the States to help service their clients.
Okay.